Have you ever noticed how the older we get, the more clearly we start to see what really matters? Things that used to feel so important, rushing around, keeping up with others, bending over backwards to maintain relationships, suddenly start to lose their shine. And in their place, we begin craving something much simpler: peace, comfort, and the freedom to just be ourselves without constantly having to explain or adjust. Now, for years, most of us were told that growing old alone is something to fear. That without a partner, life becomes lonely, dull, or even sad. But what if that's not entirely true? What if being alone in your later years isn't something to dread, but something that could actually bring you more happiness, calm, and freedom than you've ever had before? In this video, we're going to explore 5 powerful reasons why being in a relationship during old age might actually make life harder instead of easier. This isn't about saying love is bad or that companionship has no place. It's about being honest. It's about giving yourself permission to think about your happiness for once, without guilt or fear. Now, before we dive in, I'd love to know, where are you tuning in from? Comment below and share your city. I always enjoy hearing from you. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more tips like these. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming up next. Point 1. Rediscovering yourself after years of putting others first. You've spent a lifetime showing up for others. Whether it was raising kids, supporting a spouse, caring for aging parents, or just trying to keep everything together, chances are, much of your life has revolved around other people's needs. That kind of love and responsibility is beautiful, no doubt. But it also means that your own wants and needs may have been pushed aside for years without you even realizing it. Now, in this stage of life, you finally have the space to slow down and ask, what do I actually want? But if you're still wrapped up in a relationship where you're constantly adjusting, compromising, or suppressing your preferences, that space can disappear fast. You might wake up every day thinking about what someone else needs, what they want for breakfast, what time their appointment is, whether they're in a good mood, and suddenly, your day is no longer yours. That's the tricky part about long-term relationships in old age. Even when they're filled with love, they often come with habits that make you shrink a little, give a little more than you should, or keep quiet just to keep the peace. And after decades of doing that, it's easy to lose touch with the version of you that exists when no one else is watching. But being alone, even temporarily, gives you the rare chance to rediscover yourself. You get to choose how your morning looks. You decide what music plays in your home, what time you eat, where you go, and what makes you smile. It's not selfish, it's healing. It's you finally getting reacquainted with your own mind and heart after years of being tuned into someone else's. You might even surprise yourself. Maybe there's a hobby you let go of. Maybe there's a book you've always wanted to write, a place you wanted to visit, or a way you used to dress that made you feel good. When you're not constantly compromising, you make room for those parts of yourself to come back to life. And that kind of rediscovery? It's not just freeing, it's deeply joyful. Point 2. The peace of living without daily conflict or compromise. One of the things no one really talks about is how tiring constant compromise can be, especially as you get older. When you were younger, maybe you had the energy to go back and forth, to smooth things over, to argue a little, make up, and carry on. But now, it just feels like too much. You're not trying to win an argument or prove a point, you're just looking for a little peace. The truth is, living with someone, no matter how much you care for them, often comes with daily friction. It's the little things that start to wear on you: what to eat, what to watch, when to go to sleep, how warm or cold the house should be. These small decisions turn into ongoing negotiations, and over time, they chip away at your sense of calm. And it's not because your partner is doing anything wrong. It's just that two people living under one roof, with different moods, routines, and needs, will always require compromise. And that gets heavier with age. You might find yourself tiptoeing around sensitive topics, biting your tongue, or giving in just to avoid another disagreement. Maybe you've had the same argument so many times that it now lives in silence, the kind that sits between two people who are tired of trying to fix things. That silence can be just as loud, just as exhausting, as the arguments once were. But when you live alone, even for a while, you begin to notice something incredible. Peace becomes your normal. No more tiptoeing. No more filtering your words. No more adjusting your routine just to keep someone else comfortable. You can finally breathe without the tension that used to creep in over the smallest of things. There's a deep, steady quiet that fills your home, and not the lonely kind, but the peaceful kind. The kind that lets your shoulders drop and your mind rest. And maybe that's the kind of life you've earned after all these years, one without the pressure to constantly compromise. A life where the energy you used to spend smoothing things over can now go toward what makes you feel whole. That peace is worth more than most people realize, until they finally experience it. Point 3. Taking care of your own health without carrying someone else's. At this stage in life, your health becomes more than just a concern, it becomes a priority. You start noticing little things more: your energy, your sleep, your appetite. And for the first time in a long time, you might realize how important it is to focus on yourself. But when you're in a relationship, especially in old age, that focus can easily shift. Suddenly, you're not just thinking about your own well-being, you're carrying someone else's. 2. Start small. Maybe you're reminding your partner to take their pills, making sure they eat right, driving them to appointments. And of course, you do it out of love. But slowly, without even realizing it, you begin to put yourself second again. You delay your own checkups. You skip your morning walk. You don't sleep well because you're up all night listening for them, just in case they need something. And when your partner's health starts to decline, as it often does in older age, your life changes even more. You move from being a partner to being a caretaker. You're lifting, helping, organizing medications, managing moods. It's no longer just companionship, it's full-time responsibility. And the hardest part? No one really checks in on you. That kind of caregiving takes a toll. Not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. It's draining to always be on, especially when your own body is telling you to slow down. You might not complain, because you've always been strong. But the truth is, many people in your shoes feel overwhelmed, tired, and alone, even while they're still in a relationship. Living independently means you get to shift the attention back to your own health. You get to sleep in if you need to. You get to eat what feels good for your body. You don't carry the stress of managing someone else's symptoms day in and day out. And that kind of freedom isn't selfish, it's survival. At this point in your life, you've earned the right to protect your energy, your body, and your mind. You've spent years caring for others. Maybe now is the time to start caring for you, fully and without apology. Point 4. Having control over your own time, space, and choices. One of the most overlooked joys of being on your own later in life is this: you get to call the shots. After decades of planning around other people, their routines, their preferences, their expectations, it's almost shocking to wake up one day and realize that you don't have to ask, explain, or check in with anyone. You can simply do what you want. And that kind of freedom? It's powerful. Think about how many decisions in life you've made with someone else in mind. From what kind of home you lived in, to how you spent weekends, to when you ate dinner or watched TV, every little thing was a shared decision. And when things were good, that teamwork felt nice. But over time, especially in later years, it can start to feel like a cage you didn't even realize you were in. Living with a partner often means adjusting your pace to theirs. If they like staying up late, your early bedtime gets pushed. If they're not a morning person, your quiet early coffee might be replaced by noise or complaints. It's not always a fight, but it is always a compromise. And the longer that goes on, the more you lose touch with what you'd actually choose for yourself. When you live alone, you reclaim the ability to follow your own rhythm. Want to sleep early? Go ahead. Feel like sitting by the window with a book all afternoon? No one's stopping you. Want to take a spontaneous trip to visit your grandkids or an old friend? You don't need to clear it with anyone. There's something incredibly refreshing about that kind of independence, not because you don't care about others, but because for once, you get to care about you first. Your time, your space, your energy, it all becomes yours again. You can decorate how you want. Keep the house as quiet or as lively as you like. You can build a routine that brings you peace, without worrying about whether it fits someone else's mood or schedule. That level of control might seem small from the outside, but for many older adults, it's the thing they didn't even know they were missing. And the best part? It's not too late to choose that kind of life. A life where your days belong to you again. Point 5. Protecting your financial peace and emotional security. As we get older, stability becomes more valuable than ever. You've worked hard your entire life, raised families, paid bills, saved what you could, and made sacrifices along the way. Now, in this stage, you deserve peace, not just emotionally, but financially too. Yet for many older adults, being in a relationship can quietly disrupt both. See, when you share your life with someone, you also often share your finances, and that's where things can get tricky. You may have a steady pension, a bit of savings, maybe a home you've already paid off. But if your partner doesn't have the same foundation, or if they come into the relationship with debt, medical expenses, or financial struggles of their own, you might find yourself carrying more than you expected. And it doesn't always start big. Maybe it's covering their portion of the groceries, or helping with their bills. But slowly, you could begin dipping into the savings you were counting on for your own comfort. And here's the thing, it's not just about the money. It's about the feeling that your choices are no longer fully your own. You might hesitate before booking that trip, or buying something for yourself, or even helping your grandkids, not because you can't afford it, but because now you're tied to someone else's financial picture. That loss of control? It can quietly chip away at your sense of security. Emotionally, it can get just as complicated. Arguments about money, guilt over spending, tension around inheritances or helping adult children, all of that adds stress you simply don't need. And in some cases, people stay in relationships not out of love, but out of fear. Fear of starting over. Fear of being alone. Fear of financial uncertainty if they separate. But the truth is, many older adults who choose to live independently report feeling more in control, not just of their finances, but of their peace of mind. They can spend as they please, save without second guessing, and make decisions that support their own well-being. That kind of freedom brings a sense of ease that no amount of shared companionship can match if the cost is constant tension. You've earned the right to enjoy what you've built, fully, freely, and without guilt. And sometimes, protecting your financial and emotional peace means choosing to stand on your own 2 feet, confidently and without apology. As you look back on all the years you've lived, the people you've cared for, the sacrifices you've made, the roles you've carried, you deserve one thing above all else now: peace. And peace doesn't always come from being with someone. In fact, for many, it comes when you finally give yourself permission to let go of what no longer feels right. Being in a relationship in your later years isn't wrong. But it also isn't a requirement. There's a kind of strength in choosing your own company, in listening to your own needs, and in putting your own joy first. And if you've been feeling a quiet heaviness in your heart, a weight you can't quite name, it's worth asking yourself, is this relationship truly making my life better? Or am I just staying because I always have? No one else gets to live your life. No one else knows what it feels like to wake up in your body, in your home, with your thoughts. And that's why your choices now matter more than ever. This stage of life isn't about proving anything to anyone. It's about freedom. About peace. About rediscovering the version of you that existed before the noise, before the pressure, before the constant give and take. If you're already living on your own and loving it, I hope this video reminded you why that choice is powerful. And if you're still in a relationship that feels more draining than fulfilling, I hope it gave you the courage to at least start thinking about what you need. Not what others expect from you, but what your heart quietly longs for. Aging isn't a loss. It's a return. A return to yourself. And whether you choose companionship or solitude, the most important thing is that it's a choice that brings you peace, not pressure. Thank you for spending this time with me. If something in this video touched your heart, I'd love to hear it. Leave a comment and share what stood out to you the most. Your stories matter, and your voice deserves to be heard. If you found this helpful, please consider subscribing and sharing it with someone who might need to hear it too. Your support helps us keep making content that speaks to you, honestly and with care. Until next time, take good care of yourself. You've earned it.